Dear, dear Frank, how I still miss you. Here in this place I feel your presence all around me, contained in these blood-red bricks.
Memories flood back, putting such sadness upon me. But I am angry too, and bitter, when I think how much we missed out on, how much was stolen from us. I was still a young woman, only 38 when I lost you. Owen, our little boy, was 7. I don't know, did I ever fully recover. I attended the trial every day, read the transcripts, and spoke to numerous witnesses. Eventually, I was able to piece together a pretty factual account of what had taken place on that fateful week. But all that keeps going around and around in my mind is how you must have felt when you realized in those last few dreadful moments what was about to happen. I know you were thinking of me, and I draw some strength from this. The yard was about 12 feet long and 6 feet wide. As the 3 prisoners walked away from the firing squad, and when they had reached the end of the yard, Captain Bowen Colthurst gave the order to fire, and all 3 dropped in their tracks, dead. Frank's leg was noticed later to be moving as he lay on the ground. When this was reported to Bowen Colthurst, another firing squad was lined up to finish him off. On Sunday, May the 7th, bricklayers were brought to the barracks. They removed the blood-stained bricks in the wall and replaced them with new bricks. The next day, without my knowledge, Frank's body was exhumed and reburied in Glasnevin Cemetery. Originally, it had been put in a sack and buried in the barracks yard. You were a proud feminist, Frank. Certainly the first man I ever met to stand up and proclaim your allegiance, and this was in the early 1900s. At every opportunity, you supported equal rights for women and insisted on always wearing your Votes for Women badge on your jacket. Me and Frank believed that there were other issues alongside fighting for votes for women and freedom from British rule. In particular, the poverty endured by the Irish majority. We saw the plight of working-class women in Dublin and knew of the situation internationally of both women and children who laboured long, gruelling hours in sweatshops for poor pay in atrocious conditions. At home, there was the ongoing exploitation of rural girls, who, with no lawful claim on land or inheritance, were forced into early marriage with absolutely no say whatsoever. I tell you, the resistance was ferocious in all the powerhouses where men held sway. They did not want to share any legal power with us. Oh yes, they were happy to let us rule the home as long as we stayed there and didn't want to go into the parliaments, the hospital surgeries, the banks, the universities, or big business, anywhere where power is mediated. I went to prison several times for my beliefs, and I was proud to. I learned quickly how absolutely essential it is to take things to their nth degree to show how serious you are. After Frank's murder, I organised an extensive public tour to America, taking Owen with me, to deliver my British Militarism as I Have Known It lecture. It was exhausting. Beginning in Carnegie Hall, New York, it comprised of 250 meetings in 21 states. I was under police and military surveillance at this time and was not allowed a passport to travel unless I pledged not to discuss Ireland, Great Britain, or the war. Passports. Silly formalities. I adopted a series of disguises and was able to secure a passage from Scotland. At one stage of the journey, I was an elderly invalid. At another, I was a touring actress, until finally I travelled across the Atlantic as a Scottish woman, Mrs. Gribben, adopting a fully fledged Scottish burr. I always believed in one maxim, that there could not be Irish freedom without the equality of women. I've been several times in Mountjoy, not least for the infamous suffrage incident of 1912, where we broke several windows in Dublin Castle. In 1918 I was deported to Holloway Prison in London, but I went on hunger strike and was released. In 1937, Eamon de Valera wrote up his draft constitution, and we were furious with the deterioration of women's status. The decision to recognise women's life to be primarily circumscribed by her role in the home erased decades of suffrage agitation and sacrifice. Deputation after deputation of women's groups met with the three main parties. The only protection women need and the only protection women ask is equality under the Constitution, we said. We demanded that they fulfil the 1916 proclamation promises. But the Constitution was passed with only minor concessions. We realised then that the struggle for equality had to start all over again, and again, and again, and again.
So I think by now everyone knows that we can drive, or women are not allowed to drive in Saudi Arabia, but maybe few knows why. Allow me to help you answer this question. There was this official study that was presented to the Shura Council. It's the consultative council appointed by the king in Saudi Arabia.
And it was done by a local university professor. He claims it's done based on a UNESCO study. And the study states the percentage of rape, adultery, illegitimate children, even drug abuse and prostitution in countries where women drive is higher than in countries where women don't drive. Some of us women started a hashtag on Twitter mocking the study, and it made headlines around the world. BBC News, end of virginity if women drive. Saudi cleric warns. This system is based on ultra-conservative traditions and customs that deal with women as if they are inferior. And they need a guardian to protect them, so they need to take permission from this guardian, whether verbal or written, all their lives. We are minors until the day we die. And it becomes worse when it's enshrined in religious fatwas, based on wrong interpretation of the Sharia law or the religious laws. What's worst? When they become codified as laws in the system, and when women themselves believe in their inferiority, and they even fight those who try to question these rules. In 2011, I decided to encourage women to drive by doing so, and asked a female friend to film me and posted it on YouTube. The clip went viral. And though I was arrested, the outcry and worldwide support was so great, the authorities had to let me go, with a warning. And now, the law has changed. It says it's not recommended for women to drive, and that they will issue women drivers with traffic violations, whereas before it used to be haram, forbidden. So for me, it's not only